YouTube. Josh here today with some, I guess we're going to call this the Rotary News weekly, bi-weekly video. Um, there's a grand total of like 10 or 15 people that said they actually wanted to see this so that they could follow Rotary News. So go ahead and get into it. Uh, this is a first time thing. I know the audio is going to be kind of crap with this headphone. If you listen to any of my videos talking about like tracks or anything where I've streamed from a camera or from the computer, this is my setup. So go ahead and bounce over into what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so I lied. It was 15 people. 15 of y'all thought it would be a good idea for me to do this. Posted a poll talking about Rotary. See about talking about Rotary News, and we're gonna go ahead and get this started. I'm recording on the 21st, Saturday, so I will probably release this on Wednesday because Rotary News isn't very fast moving since there isn't motorsports development or manufacturer development really anymore. So it's pretty much holding steady. So Rob Dahm has raced the Unicorn. Video is supposed to be coming out on the 14th. I know a few more details about it, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. But there's the clip. Pretty exciting news. They're it's gonna be a pretty exciting thing to see. It's good for him, good for the channel, and good for rotary engines in general. Hopefully it'll help put them back in the spotlight. Already there's a YouTube tax on FDs now that it seems like every big car YouTube channel has picked up a FD, and so everybody wants one now. So that's the big news that everybody's talking about. Clearly you can see this is gonna be big video, big production. What I was told. Next we have David, his four rotor. He's kind of the yang to Rob's yin. The four rotor, they're completely different chassis setups and everything. Rob's is a ground up chassis build. David's is a stock chassis. I think it's a tube front end. Rob's is all-wheel drive. This one's two-wheel drive. They're both four rotors. Rob's is still side port or iron port intake. David's is peripheral port. They both make about the same amount of horsepower. But anyways, David finally got it back on track at Barber Motorsports Park past weekend, and then later on in the week, him and Logan, who owns Centric Motorsports, which is also a four rotor. I think he built David's motor. Anyways, they both ended up going to Barber Motorsports Park to run, I think today actually. So I'm not gonna. Well, I guess we can take a listen. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let me restart this. See if y'all can get it. No, doesn't look like it's gonna like it. Not blow your eardrums out. So David seems like he's a pretty cool dude. I've never met him. The only thing that I think he could drive his own car, but he has no track experience whatsoever, and that's a 1200 horsepower two-wheel drive monster. So he always lets somebody that he knows, I think it's Brian, yeah, it's right there, Brian drive his car. But other than that, it's a cool little blurb about the four rotors that's been going on between Dom's and David's. So moving on, Mazda has finally released a new rotary, except it's not a new rotary. It's a single rotor. It's a range extender for their new hybrid, whatever doohickey that Mazda seems to think that all the rotary enthusiasts want. It's a single rotor. It'll probably end up in some go-karts or a four-wheeler or something like that, or people will put them in motorcycles, which would be pretty cool. Other than that, not much to really talk about. Single rotor, I think some of the ports have moved. It's got a whole different design that's supposed to be really efficient. And rotaries really are their most efficient when they're spun wide open. So hence why Mazda thought it would be a good idea to um, use it as a range extender, because the only time that it's going to kick in is when it needs the power. So it's going to kick on and run wide open, and it's going to turn off. So I don't even think I think that's the factory Mazda motor. That's not even the range extender, which is kind of disappointing that they don't really show the range extender version. Anyways, that's very small little tidbit of news. There is a new rotary coming out. Maybe it will lead to some new designs, since there's some stuff that I'm going to talk about later on that could possibly help, because difference between a couple of engineers at a couple of these aftermarket parts places working on designs versus multi-million, if not multi-billion-dollar company designing stuff. It's in a whole different ball game. So they're going to be able to fine tune stuff a lot faster and a lot better than what an aftermarket parts company could do. So next, if you follow the Tennessee Rotaries group, I post a lot of these guys, which is Clink Rally Sport. They're a New Zealand team, I believe. New Zealand, Australia, something like that. Recently, they finished their last race of the year, or rally of the year. They finished second in class in the rear-wheel drive class by 0.8 of a second. So you can see that right there, which is very close for them. So they had an overall pretty good year. Get a little listen of this. It's a 3-rotor sequential box. So, anyways, that's them. They're a cool team. I would totally recommend following them. It's one of the big sports teams that I follow that's still rotary related. There hasn't really been much other than what the Aussies do and the New Zealand stuff like that. Here's some pretty cool photos of them. Anyways, so you've got them, and then a little bit of road racing. So the JLART team, they raced. I think they're New Zealand based as well, I believe. Anyways, they're not around here, I don't think, just by how some of their stuff reads. So they ended up with 2 podiums and a DNF past weekend. And I think this is pretty much their last race of the year as well. And this is the reason why I think that it's a Australian team. So you got Holdens, Vauxhalls, and stuff like that out there. Or not Holden, Vauxhalls, but Ford Falcons and stuff. So, anyways, moving on. Now to more of the tech news side of it. So, Pack Performance, Billet, Rotary Inc., and a couple other places are working on finally producing a rotary housings. So brand new billet rotary housings. You can still get some versions. I think it's the REW versions and RX-8 version housings from Mazda, but they are not. You can't carry those backwards. The coolant seals and a few other things are different, so you can't use those early styles or those late styles with the early style rotaries. So the cool thing about the new housings is that you'd be able to put them on any on any of the older style RX-7s. Um, so they're not showing anything on their website about it, but Built to Apex is. And if you follow Nader or any of the things that he's done, he's been building a peripheral port, 100% aluminum, billet aluminum peripheral port motor, as you can see in this photo right here. So peripheral port, big old huge openings, lots and lots of horsepower, very bad fuel economy, uh, lots of RPMs. I idle at like 2500. That's where you get the awesome brap. He's even working on building his own rotors, which is a huge thing because, I mean, every rotor in existence is cast. And I think his are even going to be, if you look here, they're going to have like replacement sides on them. So you technically shouldn't ever need to replace the rotor unless you have an apex seal fail, because the side housings will be aluminum. You know, everything will be replaceable, much like much like the much like the billet housings with the iron inserts on the sides for the side of the rotors to rub against. You can actually pull them off and replace them. Let me see if you can tell that in this. So let's see if they have a photo of it. It's an Australian website, so it's a little slow. Anyways, this whole darkened area is like a plate, and you pull it off and replace it. Stick a new one on if it gets worn funny, which is the nice thing about the billet housings, billet irons. They're, anyways, housing is where the rotor rides, irons is where intake is, and it's the thing that's on the end or in the middle. So they've always been called irons because they've been made out of iron. So it's kind of, now we're gonna have to distinguish somewhere some other thing. It's gonna be the front and rear plates, and then a middle plate. I'm just gonna start calling them. So that's pretty big. But other than that, I think he's working on some fuel injection stuff based off of what looks to be kind of like the Weber design, a little bit. It's gonna have fuel injection on either side, but this is more for a little bit of everything rather than it just being rotary only. So this is Built to Apex website. But other than that, guys, this is going to be the end of the first weekly rotary, bi-weekly news update, depending on how much I see that's interesting to put on the internet for people to come and look at and figure out if it's something that they want to get into. I might start adding like some tech stuff at the end of it that's little tidbits for new rotary people to pick up on. But other than that, guys, I'm going to cut the video off here, and until next time, happy wrapping.